Every Christmas, my family told me, there just isn't enough room for you and the kids. I heard my sister's children laughing behind the door, opening gifts. I stayed quiet. A year later, I bought my dream home and hosted Christmas dinner with their favorite chef. Invitations? None sent. When photos hit social media, their silence turned to furious calls. Growing up, Christmas was always magical in the Peterson household. Mom would spend weeks decorating every inch of our childhood home, Dad would dress up as Santa for the neighborhood kids, and the smell of cinnamon rolls would wake us up on Christmas morning. Those memories felt like a lifetime ago as I stood outside my parents' front door last December, holding my two young children's hands while balancing a bag of presents. "Mommy, why aren't we going inside?" my 6-year-old daughter Emma asked, tugging at my coat sleeve. I took a deep breath and knocked again, louder this time. Through the frosted glass, I could see the warm glow of Christmas lights and hear laughter echoing from inside. Finally, my mother opened the door, her face immediately shifting from holiday cheer to what I can only describe as mild annoyance. "Oh, Sarah. I didn't realize you were coming by today," she said, not moving aside to let us in from the cold. "Mom, it's Christmas Eve?" "We talked about this last week," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "You said family dinner was at 6. Behind her, I could hear my sister Jennifer's voice calling out, "Kids, come see what Santa brought early," followed by squeals of delight from her twin boys. My mother glanced nervously over her shoulder, then back at me. "Well, the thing is, honey, we just don't have enough room this year. Jennifer's family is here, and you know how the boys get when there are too many people around. Maybe next year we can plan better?" The words hit me like ice water. Not enough room? In the house where I grew up. The same house that had hosted my cousins, aunts, uncles, and family friends every Christmas for decades? "But Mom, the kids were really looking forward to..." "I'm sorry, Sarah. It's just not going to work out this year." She started to close the door, then paused. "Maybe you could come by tomorrow afternoon for a bit? After we've cleaned up?" The door clicked shut, leaving me standing there with my 4-year-old son Jake and Emma, both of whom were too young to fully understand what had just happened but old enough to sense something was very wrong. As we walked back to my car, I could hear the celebration continuing inside. Jennifer's boys were laughing, probably tearing into presents while sitting in the same spots where Emma and Jake should have been. Through the large front window, I caught a glimpse of the dining room table set for 8 people, my parents, Jennifer, her husband Mark, their twins, and even Jennifer's mother-in-law, who I'd met maybe 3 times in my life. 8 people. In a house that had comfortably seated 15 during countless Christmas dinners. "Mommy, are we still having Christmas?" Emma asked from her car seat as I sat in the driveway, trying to compose myself. "Of course, baby. We're going to have the best Christmas ever," I said, wiping away tears I hoped she couldn't see in the dark. That night, after putting the kids to bed in our small apartment, I sat at my kitchen table with a glass of wine and really took stock of my life. 6 months earlier, my divorce from Emma and Jake's father had been finalized. It wasn't messy, we simply grew apart, but it left me starting over at 32 with 2 young children and an entry-level marketing job. I'd moved back to my hometown specifically to be closer to family. I thought having grandparents, aunts, and uncles nearby would give my kids the support system I desperately wanted them to have. Instead, I was finding out just how little I apparently mattered to the people I'd always considered my closest family. This wasn't the first time, either. I'd been quietly excluded from family gatherings for months. Jennifer's birthday dinner? We'd already made reservations for 4. Mom's retirement party? It's just going to be small and intimate. Dad's 65th birthday? The restaurant has a private room, but it's pretty tiny. Every excuse was delivered with a smile and a promise that next time would be different. But next time never came, and I was always the one left out. The worst part was the gaslighting. When I gently bring up feeling excluded, Mom would act shocked. "Oh honey, you know you're always welcome. We just assumed you were busy with work and the kids." Jennifer would chime in with, "You should have just asked if you could come." As if I needed to beg for an invitation to family events. Sitting there on Christmas Eve, I made myself a promise. I was done being the family doormat. I was done making excuses for their behavior and pretending it didn't hurt. Most importantly, I was done letting my children see their mother be treated as less than. The next morning, Emma and Jake opened their presents in our little living room, and we had pancakes for Christmas breakfast. It wasn't the magical Christmas morning I'd envisioned, but watching their faces light up reminded me that we didn't need anyone else to be happy. That afternoon, I drove past my parents' house on the way to the park. Through the windows, I could see my family lounging around in matching Christmas pajamas, playing with new toys, the picture of holiday bliss. No one had called to check on us. No one had even sent a text. The moment I realized I was truly done caring about their approval was oddly liberating. Over the next few months, I threw myself into work with a new intensity. The marketing agency I worked for was small but growing rapidly, and I started picking up freelance clients on the side. I was determined to build a better life for my children, one where they wouldn't have to watch their mother be dismissed and excluded. By summer, my hard work was paying off. I'd been promoted to senior account manager, and my freelance business was bringing in enough extra income to start house hunting. For the first time since my divorce, I felt genuinely hopeful about the future. The house I found was everything I dreamed of as a kid. A beautiful Victorian on Elm Street, just 10 minutes from downtown, with 4 bedrooms, a wraparound porch, and a dining room that could easily seat 12 people. The kitchen was a chef's dream, with granite countertops, professional-grade appliances, and enough space to host serious dinner parties. It was also 2 streets over from Jennifer's house. When I told my parents I was buying the house, their reaction was telling. Instead of excitement or congratulations, Mom's first comment was, "Isn't that a bit much for someone in your situation?" Dad wondered aloud how I could possibly afford something like that. Jennifer was more direct. "Are you sure you thought this through, Sarah? That's a lot of house for a single mom. What if you can't keep up with the payments?" Their lack of faith in me only fueled my determination. In September, I closed on the house and spent the next few months turning it into everything I'd always wanted in a home. Emma and Jake each got their own rooms, painted in their favorite colors. I set up a home office where I could work on my growing freelance business. And I made sure that dining room was absolutely perfect. By November, I knew exactly what I wanted to do for Christmas. See, over the years, I'd heard my family rave about Chef Marcus Rodriguez countless times. He was the executive chef at Bellingham, the most expensive restaurant in our city, and apparently Jennifer's absolute favorite. She dragged the whole family there for her anniversary dinner the year before and hadn't stopped talking about his incredible creative vision and life-changing truffle risotto. Chef Rodriguez also happened to do private catering for special events. Very exclusive, very expensive private catering. I called his restaurant on a Tuesday morning in November. "I'd like to inquire about Chef Rodriguez's private dining services for Christmas Day," I told his assistant. "I'm sorry, but Chef Rodriguez's holiday calendar is completely booked," she replied. "We've had his Christmas slots reserved since August." "I understand. Would it help if I mentioned I'm willing to pay triple his usual rate?" There was a pause. "Let me check with the chef and call you back." An hour later, my phone rang. "Ms. Peterson? Chef Rodriguez would be delighted to prepare Christmas dinner for you and your guests. How many people should we plan for?" I looked around my beautiful new dining room, mentally counting seats. "Let's plan for 10, I said. "And please, don't hold back on anything. I want this to be absolutely unforgettable." The guest list came together quickly. My college roommate Lisa and her family were going to be in town visiting her parents. My neighbor Mrs. Chen, a widow who'd become like a grandmother to Emma and Jake, was thrilled to be included. I invited my old co-worker Michael and his partner James, who'd always been kind to me during my divorce. My yoga instructor Sophie didn't have family in town, and she'd become a good friend over the past year. 10 people who actually cared about me and my children. 10 people who'd never made me feel like an afterthought or an inconvenience. The menu Chef Rodriguez designed was incredible. We were talking about herb-crusted rack of lamb, his famous truffle risotto, roasted duck with cherry reduction, and desserts that belonged in a magazine. He was even bringing his own servers and sommelier. I spent the weeks leading up to Christmas decorating the house like something out of a holiday movie. Professional lights on the outside, a 12-foot tree in the living room, garlands on every banister, and enough candles to make the whole place glow. Emma and Jake were beside themselves with excitement about our fancy Christmas party. 2 weeks before Christmas, Jennifer called me. "So what are you guys doing for Christmas this year?" she asked, in that casual tone people use when they're fishing for information. "We're having people over," I said simply. "Oh, that's nice. Anyone I know?" "Just some friends." "Well, maybe we could stop by after dinner at Mom and Dad's? The boys would love to see Emma and Jake." I almost laughed. After last year's exclusion, she wanted to stop by my house like some kind of afterthought visit. "I don't think that's going to work out," I said. "We'll be pretty busy with our guests." There was a pause. "Guests? Like, a party?" "Something like that. Sarah, you know you're always welcome at Mom and Dad's. Last year was just, Jennifer, I need to go. The kids need dinner." I hung up before she could guilt me into anything. On Christmas morning, Emma and Jake opened their presents in our beautiful living room, then helped me set the table with my new china and crystal glasses. The house smelled amazing. Chef Rodriguez had arrived at 10 a.m. and had been working magic in my kitchen ever since. At 2 o'clock, my guests started arriving, and the house filled with laughter and warmth in a way it never had before. Mrs. Chen brought homemade cookies that the kids devoured. Lisa's daughters immediately bonded with Emma over their shared love of art. Michael and James entertained Jake with card tricks. When we sat down for dinner, Chef Rodriguez presented each course like we were at the finest restaurant in the world. The food was absolutely incredible, better than anything I'd ever tasted. The conversation flowed, the wine was perfect, and watching Emma and Jake giggle with their new favorite adults filled my heart in a way family gatherings never had. After dinner, we moved to the living room for coffee and dessert. The kids played board games with the adults, everyone shared stories, and I felt genuinely happy for the first time in years. That's when I decided to post some photos on social media. I'd been pretty quiet on Facebook and Instagram for the past year, sharing maybe 1 or 2 photos a month of the kids. But this day felt worth documenting. I posted a picture of our beautifully set dining room table before dinner, with the caption "Grateful for friends who feel like family." Then a photo of Emma and Jake laughing with Mrs. Chen in the kitchen, captioned "When Christmas magic happens in your own home." Finally, a group shot of all of us around the dinner table, raising our glasses in a toast. Chef Rodriguez had insisted on joining us for that one. My caption was simple: Christmas 2024, surrounded by love. Within an hour, the photos had dozens of likes and comments. Friends from college were commenting about how beautiful my house looked. Co-workers were asking who my caterer was. Several people said it looked like the most perfect Christmas they'd ever seen. My family was notably silent. That evening, after my guests had gone home and the kids were in bed, I was cleaning up. Chef Rodriguez's team had handled most of it, bless them, when my phone started ringing. Jennifer. Sarah, I saw your photos. Was that Chef Rodriguez in your dining room? Yes. The Chef Rodriguez? From Bellingham? That's the one. How? How did you even get him to come to your house? He's impossible to book. I asked nicely, I said, putting dishes away. Sarah, that must have cost a fortune. Are you sure you can afford? Jennifer, I can afford whatever I want to afford. I'm doing just fine. There was a long pause. Why didn't you invite us? The question I'd been waiting for. The same reason you didn't invite me last year, I said quietly. There just wasn't enough room. Sarah, that's not fair. Last year was different. Mom was overwhelmed, and there wasn't enough room in a house that seats 15 for me and 2 small children, but you had plenty of space for Mark's mother, who none of us even know. That's not how it happened. That's exactly how it happened, Jennifer. Just like there wasn't room at your birthday dinner, or Mom's retirement party, or Dad's birthday. There's never room for me until you need something. My phone started beeping with another call. Mom. I have to go, I told Jennifer. Sarah, wait. I switched over to Mom's call. Sarah Elizabeth Peterson, what is the meaning of this? Her voice was sharp with anger. The meaning of what, Mom? Don't play dumb with me. Those photos you posted. Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is? Embarrassing? I posted photos of Christmas dinner with my friends. You know exactly what you did. Flaunting some fancy dinner party on Christmas Day, hiring that expensive chef, making it look like we don't matter to you. The irony was breathtaking. Mom, you literally told me there wasn't room for me at Christmas dinner. So I made my own Christmas dinner. With people who actually wanted me there. That's not what happened, and you know it. We've always included you in everything. When? When have you included me? Because I can list at least 6 events in the past year where I was specifically excluded. You're being dramatic, Sarah. Family is complicated, and sometimes, no, Mom. Family isn't complicated. Family shows up for each other. Family makes room. Family doesn't leave people standing on the porch in the cold with their children. We were going to have you over the next day. For leftovers. After everyone else had the real celebration. There was silence on the other end. I'm hanging up now, I said. Merry Christmas, Mom. Over the next few days, the calls kept coming. Dad called to smooth things over. Jennifer called again to explain their side. Even Mark called, trying to play peacemaker. Each conversation followed the same pattern. They'd start by minimizing what had happened, it wasn't that bad, then move to gaslighting, you're remembering it wrong, then finally land on guilt, after everything we've done for you. But I was done playing their games. The breaking point came 3 days after Christmas when Jennifer showed up at my house unannounced. We need to talk, she said, pushing past me into my hallway. I noticed she was looking around my home with barely concealed envy. Her eyes lingered on the professional holiday decorations, the expensive furniture, the original artwork I'd been collecting. This was her first time actually inside my house since I'd bought it, and I could see her mentally calculating what everything must have cost. Nice place, she said, but her tone suggested the opposite of admiration. Thank you, I replied simply. Emma and Jake were in the living room watching a movie, and I didn't want them to hear whatever was about to happen. "Kids, why don't you go play in your rooms for a bit?" I called. As they headed upstairs, I caught Jennifer staring at a framed photo on my mantel from Christmas dinner. It was the group shot where everyone looked genuinely happy, genuinely connected. Chef Rodriguez had his arm around Mrs. Chen, Lisa's daughters were making silly faces, and Emma and Jake were beaming in the center of it all. "Must be nice," Jennifer muttered, "having enough money to buy friendships." The comment was so petty, so revealing of her mindset, that I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Those aren't bought friendships, Jennifer. Those are people who show up because they want to, not because they feel obligated or because there might be something in it for them. She had the grace to look slightly ashamed, but it passed quickly. Once they were upstairs, Jennifer turned on me. "I cannot believe how selfish you're being about this," she began. "Do you have any idea how hurt Mom and Dad are? They've been crying for 3 days. "Good," I said simply. "Good? Sarah, they're your parents. And I'm their daughter. Which they seem to forget most of the time. That's ridiculous. They love you. Love isn't enough, Jennifer. Love without respect, without consideration, without basic decency is just manipulation. You're blowing this completely out of proportion. So you missed one Christmas dinner? One?" I laughed. "Jennifer, when was the last time I was included in a family gathering where I wasn't either an afterthought or specifically uninvited?" She opened her mouth to respond, then closed it. "That's what I thought," I continued. "You can't think of one, can you? Because it's been over a year since I was treated like an actual member of this family instead of some inconvenient obligation." "We didn't mean..." "Yes, you did. You absolutely meant it. Every single time, it was a conscious choice to exclude me. To make me feel less important than Jennifer's mother-in-law, or your friends, or whoever else you decided was more worthy of a seat at the table." Jennifer was quiet for a moment, then tried a different approach. "Look, I get that your feelings were hurt. But this revenge thing you're doing isn't healthy. You're acting like a child." "Revenge?" I stared at her. "Jennifer, I had Christmas dinner with my friends. How is that revenge? Don't act like you didn't plan this whole thing to hurt us. The expensive chef, the perfect house, posting those photos for everyone to see. I posted photos of Christmas dinner. Just like you've posted photos of every family dinner I wasn't invited to for the past year." That stopped her cold. "And you know what the difference is?" I continued. "When I see your photos of family gatherings, I feel hurt because I wasn't included. When you see my photos, you feel hurt because you were excluded on purpose. Maybe now you understand how it feels. Sarah, please. Can't we just move past this? We're family." "No, Jennifer. We're not family. Family doesn't treat each other the way you've treated me. Family doesn't make excuses for excluding people. Family doesn't gaslight someone when they express hurt feelings. So what are you saying? You're cutting us off?" I looked around my beautiful home, thought about my amazing Christmas dinner, remembered the feeling of being surrounded by people who genuinely cared about me and my children. "I'm not cutting anyone off," I said. "I'm just not going to keep begging for scraps from people who have made it clear I don't matter to them. I have a full life now with people who value me. You're welcome to be part of that life if you can treat me with basic respect and kindness. But I'm done accepting less than that." Jennifer left without another word. That was 3 months ago. I've heard through mutual friends that my family is still hurt and confused by my behavior. Apparently, I'm being vindictive and holding grudges. They still haven't apologized. They also haven't invited me to anything. But here's the thing, I don't care anymore. My life is fuller and happier than it's ever been. Emma and Jake are thriving in their new schools and have made wonderful friends. My business is growing, and I'm considering expanding to hire additional freelancers. Mrs. Chen has become like a grandmother to the kids, and they adore her. Most importantly, I'm teaching my children that they deserve to be treated with respect and kindness, and that it's okay to walk away from people who consistently make them feel less than, even if those people are family. Last week, Emma asked me, "Mommy, are we going to have another fancy Christmas party this year?" "Absolutely," I told her. "Would you like to help me plan the menu?" Her face lit up. "Can we invite Mrs. Chen again? And Lisa's family? And maybe some of my friends from school? We can invite whoever we want, baby. It's our house, our Christmas, and our choice. Because that's what I learned that Christmas Day when I stood on my parents' porch in the cold. Sometimes the family you choose is better than the family you're born into. Sometimes you have to stop waiting for people to make room for you and start making your own space instead. And sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all, it's just living your best life without the people who try to make you feel small." My dining room table seats 12 now, and every seat will be filled with people who actually want to be there. People who would never dream of telling me there isn't enough room. I didn't need to, I replied. Good chefs talk to each other about difficult clients. You've built quite a reputation at the restaurants around town. It turns out that years of Jennifer treating service staff poorly, snapping at servers, complaining about everything, demanding discounts and freebies, had finally caught up with her. In a small city like ours, word gets around fast in the hospitality industry. That's not fair. She protested. Neither is leaving family members standing on the porch on Christmas Eve, I said. But here we are. What I didn't tell Jennifer was that Chef Rodriguez had actually reached out to me personally after her attempted booking. Your sister called my restaurant, he'd said during our phone conversation. I wanted to let you know that my team and I consider you a valued client, and we don't work with people who might compromise the positive relationships we've built. Apparently, Jennifer had been quite rude during her initial inquiry, treating his assistant dismissively and making demands about pricing and menu changes before even securing a booking. When they politely explained their policies, she'd become increasingly hostile. I've worked with many families like yours over the years, Chef Rodriguez had continued. People who understand that good food is about more than just the meal, it's about respect, appreciation, and creating meaningful experiences. That's not something that can be purchased with rudeness or entitlement. I thanked him for his discretion and professionalism. It was yet another reminder that the life I was building was filled with people who valued integrity and kindness, qualities that seemed to be in short supply in my biological family. The irony wasn't lost on me. For years, Jennifer had name-dropped Chef Rodriguez at every opportunity, claiming to be one of his favorite clients whenever she managed to get a reservation at Bellingham. Now she couldn't even get him to cater a simple dinner party, while I had become one of his regulars for special occasions. It wasn't that I was trying to block her access, I genuinely didn't care enough about her social life to interfere. It was simply that actions have consequences, and Jennifer was finally experiencing hers. The final nail in the coffin came 2 weeks ago when Mom called, her voice shaking with what I initially thought was emotion but quickly realized was rage. Sarah, I need you to take down those photos from Christmas, she demanded. What? Your Christmas photos. Take them down. People are asking me about them, and it's embarrassing. What people? Everyone. The neighbors, people from church, my book club. They all saw your fancy dinner and they're asking why we weren't there. I don't know what to tell them. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Tell them the truth, Mom. Tell them you didn't invite me. I can't say that. What would people think? They think you treated your daughter poorly and she moved on with her life. Sarah Elizabeth, you take those photos down right now, or what? You'll exclude me from more family events? Stop calling me? Mom, you can't threaten to take away something you already took away. She hung up on me. That night, I added one more photo to my Christmas album on Facebook. It was a picture of Emma and Jake in our backyard, building a snowman the day after Christmas. My caption read, "Sometimes the best gift is learning your own worth." Within hours, it had over 100 likes and dozens of comments from friends supporting me. Several people shared their own stories of family dysfunction and how they'd found happiness after setting boundaries. The most meaningful comment came from my old college professor, Dr. Martinez, who wrote, "Sarah, watching you build such a beautiful life for yourself and your children has been inspiring. You're teaching them that love isn't about accepting poor treatment, it's about surrounding yourself with people who see your value. That's the greatest gift any parent can give." That comment made me cry, happy tears, for once. Yesterday, I got a text from Jennifer, "Mom's birthday is next month. Are you going to keep this up forever?" I replied, "There's nothing to keep up. When you're ready to apologize and treat me like family, let me know. Until then, I'll be here living my life." She hasn't responded. The truth is, I sleep better now than I have in years. My kids are learning what healthy relationships look like. My career is thriving. My house is filled with laughter and warmth from people who choose to be there. Most importantly, I'm no longer teaching my children that they should accept crumbs from people who should love them unconditionally. Emma and Jake will grow up knowing they deserve to be chosen, celebrated, and valued, not as an afterthought or when it's convenient, but always. This Christmas, when Chef Rodriguez serves our second annual dinner, yes, I've already booked him, we'll be surrounded by friends who have become family. Mrs. Chen is bringing her famous cookies again. Lisa's family is flying in specifically for our dinner. 3 of Emma's school friends are joining us with their parents. Michael and James are bringing their new puppy, which has Emma and Jake absolutely thrilled. I've also invited my divorce attorney, Patricia, who became a friend during my legal proceedings and has been incredibly supportive of my journey toward independence. She's bringing her teenage daughter, who's been mentoring Emma in art projects. My yoga instructor Sophie is coming again, this time with her new boyfriend, who happens to be a professional photographer and has offered to capture our celebration. The guest list keeps growing organically, the way genuine relationships do. People who care about each other naturally want to include each other in special moments. It's such a stark contrast to my family's approach, where every invitation seemed calculated, conditional, or reluctantly extended. What's particularly satisfying is watching Emma and Jake learn what healthy relationships look like. They're seeing adults who show up consistently, who follow through on promises, who treat each other with respect and kindness. They're learning that love is demonstrated through actions, not just words. Last week, Emma asked me, "Mommy, why do some families make people feel sad, but our chosen family makes everyone feel happy?" The question was so perceptive, so insightful for a 6-year-old, that it took my breath away. Some people haven't learned how to love properly yet, I explained. But that doesn't mean we have to accept being treated badly while they figure it out. Is that why Grandma and Grandpa don't come to our house anymore? That's part of it, sweetheart. Sometimes people have to learn that their actions have consequences before they can change. She nodded solemnly, then brightened. Well, I like our family better anyway. Mrs. Chen makes the best cookies, and Lisa's girls are way more fun than those boys who were always mean to me. Out of the mouths of babes. Even my children had noticed how poorly they'd been treated by their cousins during family gatherings, something the adults had either ignored or excused as boys being boys. And if my biological family wants to drive by and see the warm lights in my windows, if they want to catch glimpses of the celebration they chose not to be part of, that's their choice. The door is still there. They know where I live. But they also know the price of admission has changed. It's not expensive, just basic human decency, a genuine apology, and a commitment to do better. Until then, I'll keep building my chosen family, one beautiful Christmas at a time. Because I finally learned something my parents never taught me: you don't have to accept being treated as less than just because you share DNA with someone. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is the realization that you deserve better. And sometimes, the most radical act is simply refusing to accept anything less. My dining room table is set for 14 this year. Every seat will be filled with someone who actively chose to be there, who values my presence, who would never dream of telling me there isn't enough room. Because when you truly love someone, there's always room at the table. Always. Update: I just got another call from Jennifer. Apparently, their Christmas dinner last year was awkward because people kept asking where I was. Mom had to admit I wasn't invited, and the whole evening became about explaining why. Even Mark's mother, the woman they chose over me, apparently asked several times throughout the night why they'd excluded their own family member. "It wasn't the same without you there," Jennifer said quietly. I almost laughed. "Then maybe you shouldn't have left me out. We made a mistake, okay? Is that what you want to hear?" "No, Jennifer. What I wanted was to not be excluded in the first place. What I wanted was for my children to grow up feeling loved and welcomed by their grandparents. What I wanted was basic decency from people who are supposed to love me. So what now? Now? Now I have a life that doesn't require me to beg for acceptance from people who should give it freely. And you know what? It's a beautiful life." She was quiet for a long time. "Are we ever going to be a family again?" she asked finally. "We could be," I said. "But it would have to be a different kind of family than what we were. It would have to be one where everyone is valued equally, where apologies are genuine, and where people actually make an effort to include each other. I don't know if you're capable of that." "I want to try," she said, so quietly I almost didn't hear her. "Then try," I replied. "But don't expect me to make it easy for you. Don't expect me to pretend the past didn't happen or accept half-hearted efforts. If you want to be part of my life, part of Emma and Jake's lives, you're going to have to earn it." That conversation happened yesterday. I don't know what will come of it, if anything. But for the first time in this whole ordeal, I heard something in Jennifer's voice that sounded like genuine remorse instead of just frustration that her actions had consequences. Maybe that's progress. Maybe it's not. Either way, my Christmas table is already full, and my life is already complete. Anything else would just be a bonus. What I haven't mentioned is how this experience has affected other areas of my life. My newfound confidence in setting boundaries has transformed my professional relationships too. I stopped accepting unreasonable demands from difficult clients, started charging what I'm actually worth, and began attracting better business as a result. My freelance marketing business has grown to the point where I'm considering incorporating and hiring employees. I've been approached by several companies who want to partner with me long-term. The financial security I've built has given me options I never had before, including the option to say no to people and situations that don't serve me. It's amazing how learning to value yourself in one area of your life spreads to all the others. The woman who used to accept being excluded from family gatherings was the same woman who undercharged clients and overdelivered to people who didn't appreciate it. Changing one pattern changed everything. My children are watching all of this, learning these lessons alongside me. They're seeing their mother build a life based on mutual respect and genuine connection. They're learning that it's possible to be kind and generous while still maintaining strong boundaries. Most importantly, they're growing up understanding that love isn't supposed to hurt. Love isn't supposed to make you feel small, excluded, or grateful for scraps. Real love, the kind worth having, lifts you up and makes you feel valued just for being yourself. Because the most important lesson I've learned is this: you can't make people love you the way you deserve to be loved. But you can refuse to accept anything less. And sometimes, that refusal is the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for your children. My kids will never have to wonder if they're worthy of love. They'll never have to beg for a seat at their own family's table. They'll grow up knowing that love is action, not just words, and that they deserve to be surrounded by people who choose them every single day. That's the real revenge, I suppose. Not the fancy dinner or the expensive chef or the beautiful house. It's raising children who will never accept being treated the way I was. It's breaking the cycle. And honestly, it's the sweetest victory of all.